billings at a cost not to exceed $38 million. That's good. Oh no, you're upset? Wait till you hear the end of the story. When the stimulus package went through, our senior senator promoted the government could own the building, and it went up to a price of $80 million. They threw out all the four groups that were going to compete for it, and said, oh good, now we can own it. The federal government can own the property. It's going to cost us $80 million. I've been jumping up and down trying to make an issue, getting the Village Gazette to report it, getting anybody to care about the fact that overnight the price went from 38 to $80 million. Silence. That's why we need to communicate with each other. So, it is a matter of paying attention. The Defense Department is important, but they make mistakes as well. If you want to be fiscally conservative, look very closely at them as well. So, next. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Representative Rehberg, my name is Starla Gady. I drove down from Missoula today because you're not coming anywhere up there where I live, I guess.
Oh, that's a gratuitous shot.
It was.
This is my 16th listening session, and I still have 7 more days yet to be determined, and nobody really knows where I'm going to be because my staff hasn't told me yet.
I know, we haven't heard, so I wanted to make sure that I was able to be here so that you could listen to my voice.
Thank you.
And I've actually befriended you on Facebook and have mentioned it for weeks now. When are you coming to Missoula? So I am trying to communicate with you, and whether your staff just doesn't choose to follow up with Missoulians, I don't know. Your office recently confirmed that you were at a strategic training with the strategist Frank Luntz, where he talked about talking points and was training you on talking points of how to take down healthcare reform. With so many Montanans being uninsured or underinsured, why are you not for healthcare reform and finding the possibilities of insurance reform, of something to lower the cost like the President has asked, which is 3 basic principles are to reduce the cost overall so that everyone has reduced cost and so that the doctors can get a fair amount of money for treating patients, but not just everything. Making sure that it's affordable for everyone, that you won't be turned down if you have a pre-existing condition. Like I have a thyroid disorder. I try to get, when you're on a medication that you're going to be on for life and have test results done every 6 months or more, it's going to be that way. So I'd like you guys to be respectful, because I was respectful to everyone here regardless of their opinion.
Okay.
And you know what? To regard President Obama as a Nazi is so wrong and degrading to everyone here in America.
I learned a real lesson when I was lieutenant governor. I was appointed to your lieutenant governor and then elected with Mark Roscoe, but I was appointed by Stan Stevens. And one of the things that Stan promised and Mark talked about was a tax reform package. And we worked with the legislature and we put a package on the ballot. And as I was getting around Montana and talking about tax reform, it dawned on me that a reporter who was very important at the time, his name was Chuck Johnson, still is, writes for the Missoulian. You may see his articles in Hamilton here. He works for Lee Enterprises in the Capitol Bureau. And I finally went up to Chuck and I said, Chuck, why do you keep referring to it as so-called tax reform? He said, well, your definition of tax reform may be different than mine or everybody else's in Montana. And it dawned on me. He's right. There are many different definitions of reform. You know, it's a phrase that's easy to say, but what does it really mean? And so as we were talking about the stimulus package going through Washington, D.C., being the guy that has a pretty good memory, which I do, I remember it all the way back to 1991, 92. I didn't want to confront him personally, so I went to his colleague, Mike Dennison, in the office and said, would you jab Chuck a little bit and ask him why he never refers to it as so-called stimulus? Because the Obama administration's definition of stimulus obviously is different than mine, because theirs is spending and mine is tax relief. So clearly Chuck was right back in 1991. So when somebody stands up and I respect their opinion and I'm glad to hear it, but when somebody makes the statement, I'm opposed to health care reform, that's wrong. I'm all for healthcare reform, and I hope that I have led you with the impression that we have alternatives, that we've been working on things like pooling, that we've been working on things that are absent from the bill, like tort reform, that we want to look for tax credits for healthy living and well-being and all those kinds of ideas, where we want to give an opportunity for businesses, small businesses, to provide health insurance for their employees equal to what the unions and the corporations do. I do believe in healthcare reform. Now, yeah, I went to Frank Luntz. Frank is a friend of mine. I go to Frank's house for a baseball party every year at the All-Star game. Axelrod does not invite me to his meetings where he goes over his polling data and talks about the language the Obama administration is going to use. Have you noticed that the Obama administration changed the definition of stimulus from creating jobs to saving and creating jobs? See, that's a nuance of words, and I'm continually telling my young staff in Washington that in this business, words matter. However is important, reform is important, and when the president moves from health care reform to very quickly including the word health insurance reform, most of the American public misses it. The press is not pointing it out, and it's a nuance that's lost, and yet very important. And where does that come from? Wordsmithing, watching polls. So, okay, somebody called Barack Obama a Nazi. That's not good. And I really didn't like it when they had pictures of George Bush with a mustache and calling him names and how quickly we forget. And so maybe we all need to back off, slow down, and maybe reconsider some of our rhetoric. Yes, ma'am. I do condemn it. I condemn you doing it to George Bush.
I didn't do it to George Bush.
Well, nor did I do it to Barack Obama.
But someone right here in this audience.
I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't hear it.
Congressman Rehberg. My name is Melissa Sundberg, and I'm from Stevensville.
Sorry. I just